My name is Christeen Abbott. I'm a technical support manager for Suterra. I conduct and supervise research trials with insect pheromone-based products. I also work with monitoring pheromones for monitoring in traps and lures. I love agriculture. I've worked in it my whole life. I consider myself very lucky to be heading out to the orchards and the vineyards during the day when other people are in their cars heading to the towns and cities to work in an office. I am a huge advocate of the family farmer, and I do what I can to help with them succeed. IPM to me is likened to a toolbox. The more tools you have in your toolbox, the more likely you are to be able to grow a good crop. I think that people who do not work in agriculture have no idea what it takes to grow a crop. Most of the farmers, many of them live on their land. They're not interested in polluting their land, and they're not interested in spending excess money. To grow an orchard crop, it takes you have to prune in the winter. There's control of insects, diseases, and weeds during the season. You've got to irrigate. There's got to be labor available to do all these tasks. And at the end of the day, the consumer wants a peach or a nectarine or a plum or other fruit that is a certain shape and size, and the grower has to be able to provide that. My background has been in insect pheromones, and just a little review of what a pheromone is. It's a substance, it's a chemical signal, an odor that insects use to communicate with one another. Probably maybe the more common type of pheromone that people are used to may be an alarm pheromone. The honeybees use alarm pheromones to alert other honeybees in their colony of a danger. And what they do is they raise their abdomen and emit this pheromone, and it signals the other honeybees to be ready to sting. So that's an alarm pheromone. Another type of pheromone is an aggregation pheromone, and this communicates to other members of that insect species that where the other insects are going to be. And I'm a hiker. I hike in the Sierra Nevadas, and in the lower elevations, the ladybugs actually aggregate there, and they produce this aggregation pheromone. It's a means of their life cycle, a way that they overwinter. And it's actually a phenomenal sight. The first time I saw it, there were like literally hundreds of thousands of ladybugs crawling all over fallen trees. And then, of course, there's the sex pheromone. And that is the pheromone that I have been working with. And the concept came around probably, 20 years ago or so. People were sitting around trying to figure out a way to control insects in a natural means. And the sex pheromone is what the female uses. Nearly most insects, not all insects, use sex pheromone to attract a mate, but the female will emit this pheromone and it will attract the male moth. So the concept of using the sex pheromone to control insects is that you saturate an orchard with this pheromone such that the males cannot pick up where the females are. This has actually been very successful. It's been used for a lot of years. The mass amount of pheromone is either placed in a membrane dispenser and hung in each individual tree, or it can be dispensed in a battery-operated mechanical device that we call our puffer, and that is dispensed periodically through the time that the insect's flying. So the females that are still present in the orchard, when they're ready to mate, they still raise their abdomen and they emit their sex pheromone, but the male moths are not able to find them. It works very well, but I want to put in a plug for pesticides. It seems that in IPM, a lot of people want to eliminate the use of pesticides. There's a perception primarily amongst consumers that pesticides are bad things, and this is far from the truth. The U.S. has the safest food in the world. They, under very stringent regulations and requirements to prove that safety, and the use of pesticides in combination with other IPM tools is very, very important. For example, in a room of teenagers, if they're shoulder to shoulder, they don't need their eyes to locate where one another is. And that's the same concept as in insects in an orchard. If they're sitting on the same branch, they do not need pheromone to find one another. So that's why we need the pesticides, whether they're the insect growth regulators that are very minimal impact on non-target organisms, or whether they're the broad spectrum insecticides. It's not a matter of using these pesticides every day, it's a matter of having them available as a tool. So with insect mating disruption, you need to be able to use the pesticide to get the populations down. And once the populations are down, you can use the mating disruption to maintain the low populations in the orchard.